Hi, I'm Chef Gail Sokol and welcome to my kitchen. Today we're making air-fried donuts. What? Air-fried donuts. Donuts that actually do not have to be in the deep fat fryer. They're made in your air fryer. They have a minimal amount of fat on them and they are scrumptious, really scrumptious. I was really surprised because when I made them, I said, these are so good. I don't even miss the real thing. I don't even miss the original, all that frying and all that oil, and even saying frying is very hard to say. But you know what? Make them for your sweetie for Valentine's Day. What a great idea. Nothing says love like I am making you a healthier dessert because I love you. And we're going to make them in the shape of hearts. Now, this is a yeasted dough, so it will take some time to allow them to rise, but the baking part or the air frying part takes only like 5 or 6 minutes. It's crazy. Now, before we get started, I'd like you to push the notification button so you can see all my upcoming videos, and I have lots of tips to tell. So let's get started. So in my saucepan here, I have 1 cup of whole milk and 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter that has melted. I've heated it up to about 110 degrees Fahrenheit because we want to sort of get our yeast warm, because yeast is a microscopic living organism and we want it to be happy so that it actually gives off carbon dioxide gas bubbles through the process of fermentation. And that is where our donuts will help, puff up and rise. So I have that in there. I'm going to put it into my electric mixing bowl. I'm going to pour that in. Just make sure it's not above 110 degrees because you'll kill your yeast. Yeast die at about 140 degrees Fahrenheit or a little bit less. So you want to make sure you don't kill those guys, those little buggers. 1 large egg. I'm going to put it in, the whole egg. And then I'm just going to get that started mixing with my paddle. And we're going to switch to the hook in a little while. The only thing I can compare these donuts to, sort of like brioche. You know, that rich yeasty dough, even richer than challah dough. So these are super, super rich feeling in the dough, but you don't have all that oil. So once we get that mixed, I'm going to actually do my dry ingredients. So in here I have 3½ cups of all-purpose flour, 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. You can use kosher salt. I like to use table salt. That's up to you. 1/3 cup of granulated sugar plus a tablespoon, just that little bit more. And now I have 1 package, which is 1/4 of an ounce or 2 1/4 teaspoons of fast-rising yeast. And this is not active dry, this is instant active dry. So this is the fast stuff. This is the stuff that I like to call the Arnold Schwarzenegger yeast, because each yeast granule will actually create that much more carbon dioxide per cell of yeast. So that's perfect. And we're going to whisk it up because we really want our sugar, our salt, and our yeast to get mixed up. Now, if you notice, I put the yeast right in with the dry ingredients. I didn't put them in with the liquid ingredients. The only way I can do that is if that is fast rising, and it is. So there we go. I'm going to go grab a spoon. And now we're going to put this on low speed, and we're going to add our dry ingredients. All right? And we just keep on adding them. The dough is going to be on the sticky side. That is fine, because we don't want dry donuts. So I'm going to really try to keep the flour content low, because I don't want to add flour to dust, because it's going into the air fryer. And I don't want to get sort of a dry, floury outer coating on this. We're going to glaze these and we're going to stuff them. We're going to stuff them to the brim with a vanilla pastry cream. All right, so I see that mixing. I'm going to keep going. Make sure it's on low speed or you'll get a little bit of flour back at you in your face, and I've done that before. I don't like that. And now when it gets to be a little weird to mix, we're going to change to the dough hook. All right, so we're going to add all this in. All right. All right, so now you can see it's actually really up on this paddle. All right, I'm going to push it off, and it is sticky, but it's okay because once we actually start mixing and creating gluten, you're going to see some elasticity, and you're not going to need any more flour. What I like to do is put a little oil down. So I'm going to just clean off that paddle. And I do have a little flour on the bottom. And I'm going to show you. I have a little flour on the bottom. And that's okay too. So I'm just going to flip my dough over and over and over until I incorporate that flour in there. Do not add any more liquid. Do not add any more milk. This should do the trick, okay? So I'm going to keep moving that around. This is very typical when you make a yeast dough. You just got to incorporate those dry bits in before the dough gets completely, thoroughly blended together. And we have done that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on my hook, my Captain Hook. This will simulate the kneading process, and I'm not even going to use my dough protector or my protector, because I'm actually going to knead this for a couple minutes. All right. Now, in the meantime, I'm going to go wash my hands while this is going. So this has been going for a couple minutes, and you can see it actually starts climbing on that dough hook, and that's exactly what you want to see for a couple of minutes. 1 or 2 minutes. We're trying to develop some gluten, and now I'm going to just take this whole baby. You can see that all the flour that was on the bottom, it's gone, right? It's all incorporated in here. So here we go. I'm going to bring this down and get this off. And it should come right off. Don't add flour. I'm telling you, you won't need it. I don't want a dry donut. You don't want a dry donut. And your sweetie doesn't want a dry donut. So what I'm doing is I like to feel my dough a little bit with my own hands and not just let the machine do the work. So I'm just going to feel it and knead it a little bit. If I feel like I need any more moisture and it's sticking too much, I have a little oil nearby. This is a neutral oil like a canola oil or a vegetable oil. Have it nearby. Don't use it if you don't need it. All right. We're actually going to coat our donuts. We're just going to take a pastry brush and sort of brush them with oil before we put them in the air fryer. But that's it. That's like very minimal of oil. So now I have a bowl that I have sprayed with nonstick cooking spray. And I'm going to take my beautiful dough that feels really nice. It feels soft and supple, and I can sort of feel that it's richer because it's got milk, it's got egg, and it's got butter, just a small amount of butter in there. This is known as a rich yeast dough, unlike something like a French dough, a French bread, or an Italian bread that's known as a lean dough because it doesn't have any fat or egg or anything like that. So I'm going to put this in here, and I'm going to roll it around on the bottom so it sort of sops up some of that nonstick cooking spray. I put nonstick cooking spray in here. I'm going to flip it over so the grease side is up. I don't want it to dry. And then I'm going to cover it with plastic wrap. And I'm going to let it rise in a nice, warm environment, an unlit oven. You could put it in a closet. Put it in a nice, warm place for about 2 hours until it doubles in size. So our dough has risen for about 2 hours. It is puffy and beautiful. And remember, rich yeast doughs may not overly grow as much as something like an Italian bread or French bread because they're enriched with various ingredients that cause them to sort of stay a little bit less puffy than some doughs. It's all those rich ingredients. Now I just pour this dough onto my plate or onto my work surface. Notice no flour, not adding any flour. All right, so things don't stick, I'm just feeling this out, and I'm going to use my knuckles, and I'm going to try to get a rectangular shape. It doesn't have to be perfect, because remember, we're going to use heart shape cookie cutters, and you can use any shape you want. It could be round, triangle. You can just free form it with a knife, whatever you want to do. I do have a little bit of oil. This is a neutral oil. You don't want olive oil. You want something like a canola oil or a vegetable oil. You want to roll it to about 1/2 inch thickness, because you do want them to have some depth to them. So if I see it's not sticking, I'm not going to add any oil at all. So don't over oil it, because we're going to have to oil anyway when we put it into the air fryer. So I'm just going to go over lightly, because we're almost ready with our diameter. Our thickness. Our thickness is about 1/2 inch. So 1/2 inch, if you go from one knuckle to another, that's about 1 inch. So you want to do 1/2. So you want that to be about 1/2. All right, 1/2 a knuckle. And these should make about 8 or 9 donuts, depending on how big. This is about a 3 to 3.5 inch diameter heart-shaped cookie cutter. You can use, like I said, whatever you want. So I'm going to start cutting. I'm not going to put these in flour. You don't need it. There's enough ingredients in here that the dough should not stick. If you do find it sticking, just take a little oil and go around the edges. And I'm going to try to get as many as I can out here, and you're just going to shimmy shake it, and then you're going to see you get a nice little heart. All right, I'm going to put it on a parchment paper lined sheet pan, because we need to let them rest again or rise again for about only 20 minutes this time, and that gives us time to preheat our air fryer. Air fryers take like 5 to 6 minutes to really preheat. We're going to preheat ours to 350. All right, and I'm going to put them about 1 inch apart. All right, so I'm going to make as many as this will make, and I'm also going to sort of really emphasize that dip in the heart, so that it really looks like a heart, because when it puffs up in the air fryer, I want it to continue to look like a heart. Sometimes things change. What's nice is, because it's not in a deep fat fryer, the shape is not going to change like sometimes they might in a regular deep fryer, because they're sort of rolling around and swimming around in that oil. All right, and I can smell them. They actually smell like donuts. They smell yummy, like you know something good is coming. So I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to, let me show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep putting these on here. You're going to make as many as you can, and then you can re-roll these scraps. Or what I like to do is just twist them, take a few pieces, twist them, and then put them on, and you can air fry them as well. And those are fun. Those are sort of the chef's donuts. They're really yummy. So while I'm going to show you what I'm doing while I'm continuing to cut. I'm going to just oil the tops here of my donuts. All right. And then after I'm done oiling them, I am going, and this is also something that you want to do, not just so that my plastic wrap, so I'm going to put plastic wrap on top. I don't want it to stick to my donuts. I'm also using this oil in the air fryer. We need a little oil to get that air fryer, to get that nice outside sort of, golden brown that we want. So I'm going to flip them over when we're ready in about 20 minutes, and I'm going to oil the other side. But in the meantime, I'm going to continue cutting, oiling. I'm going to cover it with plastic wrap, put it back in a warm spot for about 20 to 30 minutes. So my donuts have been rising for about 20 to 30 minutes. Remember, they're not going to get as big as donuts that are going to go into the deep fat fryer. I've preheated my air fryer for about 5 minutes. I'm going to pull it out. I sprayed the inside basket with nonstick cooking spray, and I'm going to put them in single file, about 1 inch apart. Should be able to get about 4, depending on how big your air fryer is. And I'm going to put them in for about 5 minutes. All right, until they're nice and brown. And then when I take them out, you don't even have to flip them over. Take them out and let them cool because we're going to fill them with pastry cream. I'm going to continue doing this. See you back. So my donuts are out of the air fryer. They were in for about 5 minutes. They can get nice and brown, and that's what they should look like. They don't puff up as big. Remember, this is a rich yeast dough, and that's why they didn't puff up when you proof them. You know, you put them in a warm spot for about 20 to 30 minutes after. That is very typical. So we're going to make a few things to put on top of them, just so they look super pretty. I'm going to make a hibiscus glaze. So I did a video on how to infuse flavor using flowers and herbs. So check that out. And what I have here is a hibiscus water with hibiscus petals and water that I boiled and then I strained. I have about 1.25 cups of confectioner's sugar. And I'm going to add about 4, this is 3 tablespoons right here. You're going to add just enough to get glaze consistency. So you're going to have to sort of play it by ear. I can't give you an exact amount depending on how much. Look how pretty that is. Oh, nice. But you want it spreadable, but you don't want it like library paste. You know what I mean? So just do enough. And you want to add it very slowly, the hibiscus water. And you can do anything you want. It doesn't have to be a hibiscus, but our theme is Valentine's Day, right? For our sweeties. So we really do want a nice, you know, the shades of red and pink, and we want to do something that's nice. I'm going to just do like a drop more. Drop. All right, and see if that's enough. And if it's not, we're going to add a little more. Ooh, I want a little more. So this is something that I can't give you an exact amount. This is something you're going to have to wing it. And it's very typical. I used to have students put in way too much liquid, and then you end up having to add way more sugar. So if I was going to glaze cinnamon rolls with this, this would be fine. Okay, this is really nice because it's going to firm up. It's going to actually get firm when it dries a little. So I just want maybe a drop. Okay, now I'm going to put this away. I'm just going to whisk this up. And this will get firm. So if you're going to be doing this over a period of time, you want to cover this with some plastic wrap or a moist paper towel. So I'm going to set that aside. I also made a vanilla pastry cream, and I'll put a link so you'll be able to find that recipe. And I also made some ganache because nothing says I love you than chocolate. So I made some ganache, which is also, I'll put a link on the video as well, so you'll see that. So we're going to prepare. So we're going to, I'm going to put my glaze in here. I'm going to put it in a smaller container. I'm going to go grab a rubber spatula, which is also red for Valentine's Day. And I'm just going to put that down. I will lick that later. Hibiscus glaze. I'm going to put that in here. And we are going to dip our donuts in there once we fill them. I'm going to fill them with vanilla pastry cream. If you don't want to do that, don't do it. You don't have to fill them if you don't want to. All right, so I have some accoutrement here. I have some red sugar, okay, some red sugar, and I have some dehydrated strawberries. That would go really nice with the hibiscus, and I whirled them through the food processor so I can sprinkle them on top. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is inject. It's such an ugly word, but it's so delicious. So we're going to inject our donuts first and get a mug that they will fit into. All right, and I have a knife. And I'm going to get my injector. Now, I usually take my pastry bag, and my injector is a long, with a little hole, it's sort of a long pastry tip. You can buy one. If you want, you can just cut your donut in half and actually just fill them as well that way. But an injector is really nice, and you can get those online. And we're going to put our pastry cream in there. So I'm going to take my knife, and I'm going to fit my donut, because you sort of need an extra pair of hands. And I'm just going to go in here, and I'm going to go without killing yourself. Put your hands up so you don't go to the other side. All right. And just make sure you know where that hole is. And I'm going to fill with my vanilla pastry cream. You could also infuse your pastry cream with hibiscus if you wanted to, and put the hibiscus flowers right into the milk and the cream. But I like the vanilla pastry cream really, really the best. And see how it's coming out. So I'm going to sort of stick this in. Stick it in and squeeze without, I exploded a few of them before, I'm sorry. And they're just so good. And when you see a little bit coming out, stop. That's okay, right? Nobody's going to say anything about that. What are they going to say? Oh, I used too much pastry cream? Boo-hoo. No one's going to mind that. So I'm going to do it again. I'm going to go through with a knife and stabilize it by putting it in my mug. All right, and then I'm just going to do a few to show you what you can do. Stuff it in there like an injection. This will not hurt a bit, little one. Keep going, keep going. You might even see it swell. I try not to explode it. I always do it. All right, beautiful. And you're going to keep going and injecting. But let me show you what I like to do. So let me put these unfilled ones aside. All right, so I have 2 of those. And what I like to do, you want to make sure that when you inject them, they are cool. So we waited till they cool down, all right? And I'm going to take an offset spatula just in case I need to, if your glaze is a little too thick. And I'm just going to put it face down in here. Ooh, and spread it. Okay, just spread it around. Nice. So it gets that nice heart shape. All right. You can be as fussy or as non-fussy as you want to be. All right. And sometimes you just have to modify it a little. Go around. Pretty, right? I'm going to put it down. And then I'll show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take another pastry tip. And I just got a small one. This you can even do with a freezer bag and just cut a little tiny, teeny hole on the side, or you can get a little pastry tip. And I'm going to put some ganache in there. Just pour it into my mouth. I mean the pastry bag. Just joking, but I'm really not joking. I love it. Okay, and it's going to come out the other end. Don't worry. There's no worries. No worries. And then I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to make like lines of ganache, all right? Lines of ganache. Just have fun with it. It says, oh, I love you. I love you. Happy Valentine's Day, sweetie. I love you. See? And then sometimes if you want to go the next step, skewer and just go back and forth. And if you want to wipe it clean in between each one, you can. All right, doesn't that look beautiful? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, it says Valentine's Day. And then you just let them firm up. Let's do one more. One more, which is the one that oh, there it is. There you are. Yum, yum, yum. Okay, so again, we're going to do the big face down into our hibiscus glaze, lift it up. All right. And if you don't want to be that fancy, you can just go around and perhaps not use any ganache for this one. And maybe you just want a little strawberry, dehydrated strawberry. All right. And just do it over half. Very, very chic, right? Very chic. Very chic. All right. I'm sorry. I have to do one more. I'm gonna inject one more. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. So we're going to inject. And if you don't want to inject them, you don't have to. But injecting is so much fun, especially when you're not on the receiving end, right? Who likes shots? Oops. All right. So we're going to put this down. I'm going to just wipe that off. I would have licked it if you weren't here. And then I'm going to do the old dip and schmear. Okay, just dip it and just dip it. And I'm going to show you, I'm just going to do a little half ganache and maybe some red sugar. All right, so just use your offset to sort of guide it, and it should smooth out. All right, so I'm going to take a little bit of ganache. I'm just going to do half. So I'll just do half. Just go boop, boop, boop. All right, and then a little sugar. Little sugar. Oh yeah, you can do whatever you want. Have fun with this. These are for your sweetie, and nothing says Happy Valentine's Day, and I want you to live a long and happy life than donuts made in the air fryer. Make them, and you will get wonderful compliments. I can't wait to see you next time. Take care.